in the future. So thank you for joining us today for Detroit 2030 District Lunch and Learn. We're excited to have everybody here. Super excited about our presentation and our presenters. Right now, I'd like to just kind of go briefly over what's going on with our district in Detroit. So some of this will be repetitive if you know it, but I do nonetheless like to include all of it. We are one of 23 districts in North America, and we have 3 districts in Michigan: Detroit, Grand Rapids, and Ann Arbor. And our goals are all the same. However, we may go about trying to reach those goals a little differently because each city is so different. But you can see our program is growing, and we're just a group of people trying to create high performance building districts, help building managers and owners reduce their operating expenses, which in turn promotes economic development in our communities and creates a healthy non-carbon environment for all of us. What we're aiming to do is to reduce the CO2 in our city by reducing energy and water consumption in commercial buildings. Also includes multifamily and houses of worship. And we also are working to reduce transportation emissions to and from our buildings. We do have a target goal, which comes from our 2030 challenge. And this is to reduce our entire district's emissions by 50% by 2030, basically just working towards a carbon neutral city. If you're building a new building by 2030, we would hope that it's a net zero building by then. Each member of our program is at a different spot in their journey towards creating a high performance building. So we try to meet them where they're at. We have 3 types of members. We have property owners and managers. This is who our program is for. It's free for them to belong. We have professional stakeholders, which are businesses that pay to belong. Our businesses that support us bring this program to our members. And then community stakeholders are nonprofits that we team up with. Currently, we have about 222 buildings in our program. We are actually almost up to 35 million square feet of space committed to this cause in Detroit. We have about 40 businesses supporting us and about 40 nonprofits that we collaborate with. So if you look at all the districts across North America, we are somewhere around the top 5 as far as square footage goes. This is our vision and our mission. I'm not going to read it, but you can find it on our website. Just wanted to let you know that we have 3 best practice groups. If you're not familiar with us, we have a venue museum group, which is actually now just a venue group. Our museum section has spawned off into a national best practice group for museums, and we have people from all over the country now joining those meetings. We also have a great house of worship program in Detroit. We have approximately 20 houses of worship in our program, and our multi-practice group is really growing. And this gives managers and owners of these building types the opportunity to come together and meet with each other and look at the challenges and the solutions and best practices for their building type, which really helps them out, I feel, instead of trying to just do it on their own. Last year, we had a wonderful program with the houses of worship, and these are the graduates of our program. And as you can see, it was a great collaboration with all of these companies below and a lot of volunteers. We did it along with the EPA. We got a nice article written by us or for us by the EPA, as well as a mention in the White House newsletter. So that was pretty exciting. We also have some great programs for our members. We have a building dashboard, which allows our members to see all of this information that you can see here for their building. It's free for them and it's customized. And if you want any help with that, please let us know. We'd be happy to introduce you to your own private dashboard. We are also running a pilot with DTE to help them take our member data and send it directly to Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And if you are a building member, you know how wonderful this is because it's going to save you a lot of time and energy. And we're doing this pilot along with Ann Arbor 2030 District, and Kendall has that if you want to get involved at all. And we also are having our first Detroit Energy Challenge Awards on June 14th. We're super excited. We're finally getting this underway. We launched this energy challenge in 2020, just before COVID hit. So if you're a building member in our program and you want to be eligible for this award, just let us know. We'd be happy to help you with that. It also coincides with Michigan Battle of the Building. So if you want more information, please let us know. I just want to thank some of our members that are here on this call today, and I just wanted to thank them for their support. We wouldn't be here without all of these companies who are trying to build a wonderful, clean, healthy city of Detroit with healthy buildings. And how do you get involved? You can add a building into our program. We take every type from multifamily houses of worship to any type of commercial building, and we help you where you're at. You don't have to be doing anything, or you could be already working on a lot of sustainable things for your building. You could join as a business and support our program. You could also volunteer or sponsor an event. Just to let you know what's coming up, we do have a multifamily and house of worship best practice group coming on April 20th. We will learn about reducing internal water consumption and water bills. And as you can see here, some other topics here with Ben Kari, with Adrienne Bennett and Sloan. So please let me know. It's a free program for multifamily and houses of worship if you want to join. So today I'm very excited though to introduce you to Tori and Michelle. Both of them are very involved in our district. We're super happy to have them along here today to talk to us about what's going on. There's a lot going on, and I'm sure they're going to tell you all about it. So with that note, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I will stop sharing, and we'll see you on the other side of your presentation. And don't forget to go ahead and type in your name and your company and questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Connie. I'm going to share my screen now. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. Okay. Well, hi, everyone. Thanks for having us today. As Connie mentioned, my name is Tori Prouse. I lead transportation and mobility planning as part of the Michigan Central Mobility Innovation District that we at Ford are building in Corktown. Really excited to share an overview of the project, some history, and talk about our specific approach to sustainability at the site right now, and also especially keen to then pass it over to my colleague Michelle, who works at Fordland, who's going to talk a bit more about Fordland's approach to energy, as well as the process around getting ISO 50001 ready. So looking forward to kicking it off now. I thought I'd start with a little bit of history. I was saying beforehand, there's so many awesome photos of the train station in its heyday, and it's super exciting to juxtapose some of these pictures with what we're working on creating in terms of the construction that's already happening and what we're envisioning. But I think to level set, you know, when the train station first opened in 1913, Detroit was incredibly prosperous and on its way to becoming the US's fourth largest city. I think through community engagement, no matter who you talk to, everyone has a story about Michigan Central Station. It is really, you know, symbolizes a lot of really Detroit and nostalgia around all that mobility represents. So, you know, it being a gateway to opportunity for people during the Great Migration, so many stories around folks saying goodbye to troops around the world wars, as well as celebrating their homecoming. So it really is an incredibly special place, as we all know. Some few interesting facts about the history of the train station is it was designed by the same architects as Grand Central Station in New York. At its peak, the station saw 200 trains and 3,000 people come through daily. And it was the tallest railroad station in the world for a time with its beautiful Beaux-Arts architecture. and 13-story towers, which really is interesting in a contrast with the surrounding neighborhood of Corktown, with very cottage-like, lower density residential development. For the building of the train station, by the numbers, 7,000 tons of steel, 125,000 cubic feet of stone, 7 million bricks. And so that's, pretty impressive. As the economy slowed, as we know, again, the final train departed the train station in 1988, where it sat abandoned until 2018, when Ford announced that it would be the new owner. So I want to take a moment just to situate ourselves to where we are today. It really, the train station is the pinnacle of the development, but it is so much more than simply revitalizing the train station. We really do have a big vision for this being a place, a destination, beyond the train station, including other buildings and the landscape, and really integrating into our surrounding community to really, make those connections and make that positive impact. We don't want to be an island, that's for sure. So what is a mobility innovation district? What we are creating is really thinking about how do we become a platform for startups, academics, community members to not only test and iterate on new form factors around mobility, but come to experience what emerging mobility will mean to folks, and really from an education perspective, from a comfort perspective, help really bridge that gap between adopting future mobility opportunities. There's going to be approximately 2,500 Ford employees and 2,500 other partners. So I think one of the biggest things to take away from today is this really is by no means a Ford campus. We are an open platform. We want to welcome any and all folks to be part of this. And I think the worst thing we could be called is an insular campus experience. So that's really, really important. Overall, the development will be approximately 1.2 million square feet of commercial buildings. There will be 4 key buildings: Michigan Central Station, the book depository, which is immediately to the east of the station. That's actually going to be opening this summer. The factory building is also already open. It's on Michigan Avenue. I'm sure you've seen that there. And then the other big piece here is this, what we're calling the mobility platform, which is the old train sheds, and where the trains would load and unload. And what we're really excited about here is this space will not only be a publicly accessible open space for the community to enjoy, but also a really unique plug and play opportunity for mobility innovation testing. Another interesting, awesome thing to note is our linkages with the broader Greenway network, in that we are building a connection right into our site with the Southwest Greenway, thinking about the broader multimodal opportunities throughout that the neighborhood provides. In terms of what we're planning here, there will be a lot. There will be office space, of course, but also at the station, really leaning into this being a place for Detroit, offering various food and beverage opportunities, and other types of hospitality uses and public amenities as well. So just digging in a bit deeper, into what we mean by a mobility innovation district. This more or less represents the ecosystem that we're trying to create at Michigan Central. And so again, as I mentioned, the physical buildings, the real estate development portion is just one part of this big development. with all of these pillars working together, you know, most notably for this conversation with sustainability, really cross-cutting all of these elements in how we're thinking about these things, and really informing our strategies around all of these different aspects. But I think the other thing to really draw emphasis to in this ecosystem piece is that it really is more than innovation. It's being a responsible neighbor, thinking holistically about urban form and urban development, and how you know, us coming back and populating the train station impacts you know, density and infill in terms of building or thinking about development in 2022 as being something you know, that is very urban in character, and henceforth, you know, harnessing inherent benefits to sustainability there. So a big piece of that is the neighborhood in which we are newcomers. Corktown, not only Corktown though, we sit at the crux of three really vibrant, long-standing neighborhoods, Mexican Town and Hubbard Richard as well. We are incredibly cognizant that we are newcomers to this neighborhood, and really that is one of the reasons why we decided to do this in the first place, right? I think thinking about locally driven innovation, harnessing the community in terms of really developing relevant and prescient problems that our partners can help solve is of utmost importance to us. And I think it's also important from really being, again, not just an island, but being embedded into the neighborhood helps us really be relevant and useful for startups that choose to locate here, in terms of, you know, this is not the Jetsons or the city of the future. This is a platform upon which you know, have the ability to test on real streets in real scenarios that you know, not just transpose to other areas in Detroit, but really help with the longevity and impact of these innovations that we're doing, you know, across the U.S. So shifting quickly into some of the work that's being done within the station, a lot of progress has been made over the past 2 years despite COVID-19. As you can imagine, restoring the building is a pretty massive undertaking. The first phase of construction involved stabilizing the structure and really removing water from the building. And oops, one second. In terms of water that was removed, there was over 3.2 million gallons removed from the site. So that's almost 5 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So what I'm showing here in this picture, and again, there's so many neat pictures to show, but this one is the old arcade and ticket booth area that we're fixing the plasterwork that decorates these spaces. Part of the repairs include replacing about 300 limestone blocks on the exterior of the facade. And to match the facade, we actually went back to the same limestone quarry in Indiana where the original bricks were sourced to when it was first built. So that's pretty cool. Some of those blocks, like this one, are being turned into Capitol stones. And a stone carver takes about 430 hours hand carving this 21,000-pound limestone block into an exact replica of the old Capitol that was there. Some other pictures. This is a tunnel underneath the train platform that was discovered as part of the construction. And so this was something we didn't realize was here, but now that we know, we're trying to think of interesting ways to use it and bring people down here. So shifting to sustainability. I love this picture because it's kind of an unconventional photo. You don't necessarily see the station from this viewpoint, but it really, to me, reinforces the close linkage that we do have and have to foster and build on in terms of our relationship as stewards to the broader ecosystem. Just in terms of laying the groundwork, these perspectives are really foundational in terms of how we're thinking about sustainability at the site. So, of course, brownfield redevelopment and ecological restoration, thinking about adaptive reuse and bringing life to these old buildings, thinking about, you know, the opportunity to avoid embodied carbon involved with new builds and greenfield sites and restoring these older buildings for new purposes. It's really important for us to align our goals with the Detroit Sustainability Strategy as well as the Corktown Neighborhood Framework Plan to ensure that we're being locally responsive to our needs. Michelle will go in a bit more around Ford's corporate sustainability goals, so I won't belabor that point here. In sustainability, we're also thinking about well-being and what the future of work means for sustainability. Thinking about when people do return to the office, we want it to be a place of comfort, you know, non-anxiety ridden, and we have incorporated that into our sustainability approach. And then finally, we are moving forward with an approach called positive performance and thinking about biomimicry as a really big pillar for us, especially in the landscape design. And so we're working with a firm called Biomimicry 3.8 around positive performance, where basically our benchmarks and KPIs around sustainability metrics become benchmarks to reference ecosystems within the region, rather than sort of, you know, other standards. And so once we get those benchmarks established, then we are able to really map and measure all of the assets within the landscape and use that as a tool to not only help us design the landscape work, but also once the design is finished and once we've implemented and constructed, keep ourselves accountable to how we're drawing down in different metrics and aspects of the open space. So again, these are our sustainability pillars here, and I did, I guess, go into a couple of them. I'll dive in further detail for ones that I didn't mention. Of course, access is very, very important in terms of being a mobility innovation district, thinking about sustainable mobility, emissions reductions, electrification, and how that dovetails with Ford's broader goals around electrifying fleets. We want to encourage multimodal transportation, not only to the site, but within the site. We're working on developing a transportation demand management program to really, you know, act as an educational tool to help folks think differently about travel and getting around, getting to work and commuting. From the ecology perspective, I went into a bit of that, but again, thinking about that positive performance approach to landscape architecture, the immense amount of site remediation that went into the earlier stages of our project, and also the reestablishment of local ecosystems, incorporating local flora, fauna into the landscape design is a really big piece here. I won't go significantly into energy because Michelle's going to talk about that as well, but 100% of the electricity on site will be sourced renewably. And so we are very, you know, excited and passionate about the the energy pillar in terms of, again, being locally responsive and really harnessing, building our strategy around, you know, what are Detroit specific priorities for sustainability. Equity inclusion is obviously of utmost importance, really trying to think about meaningful ways to involve the community beyond our community benefits ordinance that we did sign in 2018 as well. I talked a bit about well-being, but water is another big piece for us. Again, that picture of the station juxtaposed with the Detroit River really, again, speaks to the proximity of the river to our site. We are embarking on a very ambitious stormwater management system And I'll have a picture on the next slide to show an example of that. But looking at harvesting gray water on site, using both retention and detention mechanisms to divert the water and really manage it, treat stormwater on site to divert from the sewer. And then I think the other sort of broad sustainability goal, again, goes back to really this being an innovative platform. So across these pillars, how do we think about infrastructure that serves as a platform for startups and entrepreneurs to test and ideate against these pillars and make a contribution for future innovations in these areas as well. So not only are we thinking about, I guess, infrastructure from an operational perspective, we're thinking about, what's that next step and how do we make the infrastructure be that platform as well. So this, again, just going back to water and how important it is for us on site, this is a concept diagram of what we're calling our resiliency gateway. And as you can see, really thinking, and I'm really excited about this through the landscape design about how we use, diverse mechanisms of stormwater retention, detention through green stormwater infrastructure, as well as other, underground cisterns and such to really make this site resilient and restore it back to its natural conditions from a performance perspective. And so this viewpoint here, if you can imagine the book depository just behind us right now, and we're looking at west to the station from 15th Street. Okay, with that, I'll pass it on to Michelle.
Okay, thanks very much, Tori. It's really exciting to hear about all the things going on at Michigan Central and just, revitalizing that history of Detroit and the future. Okay, so taking a step back and looking at our forward sustainability aspirations as they relate to energy and environment. So we have a climate change goal to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. And we have an energy goal to use 100% carbon-free electricity in manufacturing by 2035. And then you can see we have a couple other goals as related to air, to waste, zero waste to landfill, single-use plastics, water, making zero water withdrawals for manufacturing processes and using fresh water only for human consumption. And then materials, so utilizing recycled or renewable content in vehicle plastics. It's interesting to know that the metal portion of vehicles is actually already a highly recycled percentage. So diving into the energy and climate change goals a little bit more. Go ahead, next slide, please. So we have, in order to meet that 2050 carbon neutral goal, we have some intermediate carbon reduction goals. And the key one here is the reduce scope 1 and scope 2 greenhouse gas emissions from our operations by 76% from a 2017 baseline by 2035. And when I say operations, that includes manufacturing and non-manufacturing and any global office buildings where Ford has operational control. And this aligns with the Science Based Targets Initiative, the 1.5% glide path. So just taking a look at some of the other things on the slide, the triangle in the upper right corner, that's kind of our pyramid showing, what are the different tactics that we're going to use to get there. The first ones are leaner. So it's like leaner, cleaner, greener. So the first ones are your energy conservation and energy efficiency, essentially trying to reduce that footprint in the first place. And then the next one are going to be your lower emission and then your renewable energy once you've got your energy efficiency that you can purchase less renewable power. So the Better Climate Challenge for the US Department of Energy, where Ford has recently signed on for that for our manufacturing facilities. And that is a commitment to reduce our scope 1 and 2 by 50% by 2030. So you can see we kind of have these, a series of intermediate goals. We have a 2030 goal, a 2035, and a 2050 goal. And then we do have, Ford is committed to the UN Sustainable Development Goals as well. And then, so is, an example of what, go back, example of some of the things that we're doing. Just one slide back. So we have, we have renewable and electricity supply through DTE in Michigan to powering Michigan Assembly, Dearborn Truck, and the Corktown project. So Michigan Central Station is going to be powered by wind farms in Michigan. We have our Central Energy Plant, which is going to be providing carbon neutral electricity to the Hub, which is a new building that's coming on our research and engineering campus in Dearborn. And then some of our manufacturing facilities do actually have on-site renewables. For example, the Silverton plant in South Africa. So, okay, go ahead. All right, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about our journey to 50,001 ready. So unfortunately, my slides have a lot more, not as many nice pictures as Tori's, but that's okay. So 50,001 Ready is a program that's offered by the US Department of Energy, and it's a self-paced framework for world-class energy management. And it's based off of 50,001, ISO 50,001. You might be familiar with ISO 9001 or 14,001, which are for quality and for environmental controls. So it's a similar idea, but it's for energy management. So 50,001 Ready offers a way to get recognition without having to do external audits that can potentially be costly. And it's a low to no cost way for organizations to build a culture of energy improvement and leading to deeper and sustained savings. So some of the benefits that you might see are energy savings and reduced cost, increased productivity, competitiveness, and sustainability, continually improving your energy management performance, which for us is working towards our carbon and energy reduction goals. You can build on if your organization has experience with ISO 9001 or 14,001, and then you get business leaders, demonstrate business leadership and gain recognition from the DOE. So Ford, we are about 90% complete on our DOE 50,001 Ready. We started about a year ago. And we actually went through kind of with an enterprise mindset of doing really all of our global manufacturing plants and our key large non-manufacturing, like our research facilities in Dearborn and Allen Park. But because it's a US-based program, it's only our US facilities that are actually going to get recognition. But basically, we've spent the last year doing training. We did a gap assessment to our existing energy management system to just realign it with that global standard, simplify some things, where we had gaps, create additional documentation. And so we're expecting to complete that this year in the next couple of months here and get ready recognition. And the chart on the left, it just kind of shows you for a company that has facilities that are ISO 50001 certified versus not, those facilities that are certified are seeing more energy savings than the ones that are not. Okay, go ahead, next slide. So here are some different pathways on, if you're interested in pursuing 50,001 Ready for your organization. The first thing you want to do is check eligibility. It is for US industrial, commercial, and government sites. I do not think it's available for residential or multifamily businesses. Then there's a few different pathways that you can take. The first one on the left is basically just working through the 50,001 Ready Navigator online. It's free. It's an online resource. It has all the step-by-step guidance in there. There's a library with tons of resources, and you can utilize the help desk support. The next one here in the middle is basically to join a cohort, either just with your organization or other organizations. And you go through, like you have a coach that'll do training and give you all the skills, but then you actually have to still go through and implement it yourself. And that's the approach that we took. And then, the last option would be to hire a certified practitioner who would take you through it, but then they would implement it for you. So there would be a cost associated with that. So then the three main steps are completing the 25 tasks in the Ready Navigator, and they're broken up into basically 7 different sections that tell you like how to set up the framework for your energy management. So do you have organizational resources? Do you have leadership commitment? What are some of the data that you're going to need to start collecting, like your significant energy users, or do you even have line of sight to your energy usage, things like that. Then the next step, once you've done all of that, is to self-attest. There's no audit. And then you just report your annual energy performance. And simple as that, right? And I did want to point out, Connie, if the 2030 district is interested in setting up a cohort, maybe just let me know and I can provide the contact information of our coach that we worked with.
Great, thanks.
Okay, and next slide, please, Tori. And then I just wanted to share this resource really quickly. This is a Better Building Solutions website. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, there's a lot of really cool projects and showcases and case studies on here. And you can search by building type, like office building or restaurant. You can search by portfolio size. You can search by barrier, which is kind of nice if there's like a specific problem that you're struggling with. You can see like they have 348 about energy saving technology. You can search by company. So Ford, we have a few case studies on there. And then you can search by technology as well. So just thought I'd share that. That's it for me.
Great, thanks so much. Guess I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Tori and Michelle. That was a great presentation. And we did get a couple of questions, but I wanted to encourage everybody to continue putting your questions in the chat. But I will start. The first question came from Matt. He was asking how much natural gas is being connected to the Michigan Central site.
I don't have a number off the top of my head, but we are going to be using gas for heating. And then there will be like some retail restaurant spaces as well. So that's, I think it's a common problem that we're facing in carbon neutral goals is, electrification of restaurant sector and heating.
Thank you, Michelle. Matt, I don't know if you had anything additional with that question, and if not, I can move on to the next question. Okay, so Isabel had a few questions. The first one, will the train tunnel underneath the Detroit River be considered for a future transit route?
That's a great question, Isabel. And I'd say sort of at this point. We are really excited about the opportunity of bringing rail back to the train station. And so what we've done in our landscape design is essentially protect for rail. So leaving tracks or the possibility for new tracks as part of sort of a buffer with the rest of the landscape design on the platform. And so to that point, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the statement that Amtrak made around the desire to reinstate the Toronto to Chicago service that they've identified would be a huge opportunity for that reinstatement of rail at Michigan Central. And so the Detroit to Windsor train tunnel would certainly have to be part of that proposal. So we're optimistic and really hopeful that that, I think it goes without saying, that would be incredibly transformational for not just Michigan Central, but the whole city as well. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's really very neat. Isabel also had some questions related to car share and bike stations. So she asked, will a car share operation like Zipcar be set up on site as a neighborhood amenity? And has MoGo been approached for a bike station?
Yeah, so in terms of car share operations, we are looking at, non-traditional ways. I guess, car share is not the most emerging technology, but different ways for folks to get around the neighborhood that isn't reliant on a single occupancy vehicle. So last summer, actually, and maybe more closer to the winter, we did have a pilot with a car share company called Sway, which is EV focused. And so they did a small pilot, and I think my desire would be that we could build that up and to your exact point, really think about car share, but more specifically electrified car share and how that would work for overall improvement of neighborhood mobility in Corktown. And then in terms of MoGo, they have been approached. We are going to work with them on adding bike stations to our site. And we're excited for that in terms of looking at siting one right at the edge of Bagley and the Southwest Greenway for folks that can harness that and use that as part of the Greenway network, not only just our site, and then also looking at installing one off of 14th Street near the Book Depository building. So those are anticipated to come online this summer when the Book Depository opens.
Yeah, thanks, Isabel, for those questions, and thanks, Tori. So there's another question here. This is probably more for you, Michelle. Can you speak to your experience with Buildy and any Energy Star portfolio manager and any difficulties? Oh, let me make sure I got that question right. Sorry about that. This question was Joe. Okay. I don't know if you've used Buildy yet, Michelle. So maybe you can answer that question.
We haven't. We're using a platform called FigBytes for our invoice management. And it has reporting and dashboard capabilities. So we didn't feel like we needed to use Buildy. Energy Star portfolio manager. We are signed up for the pilot with DTE to transfer our data for the factory at Corktown and Michigan Central over. That's something I need to follow up on actually to make sure, that's transitioning over smoothly.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. And there is another question in here for you. How does the average timeline look like for a commercial industrial space to get ISO 50001 ready certified? Yep.
So just to clarify, Ford we're just doing 50001 ready. It's almost like 85% of ISO 50001 certification. So we're not actually pursuing certification, but that's okay. You know, if we wanted to, we would be like 85% of the way there. We started our training about a year ago, and then we basically had training sessions with our coach every week. And then we had some time where we were working through and doing, closing the gaps and stuff. You could probably compress the training a little bit, but a year is a good estimate, I would say.
Okay. And Michelle, this might be another one for you. This is a follow-up question to the natural gas question. If you are using natural gas for heating and cooling of the building, how does the campus plan on hitting the 2050 carbon goals?
I don't have an answer to that. Sorry. Maybe Tori.
Sorry, I'm going to try and read the question, or can you repeat it, Kendall?
Yeah, I can repeat it. This is a follow-up to the natural gas question. But if Michigan Central is using natural gas for heating and cooling of the building, how will the campus plan on hitting the 2050 carbon goals?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't have a distilled answer at this time either, but Matt, more than happy to follow up with you later on that.
Okay. And then another, just a comment we saw from Isabel on the mobility questions. But after that, let's see, we have Bob Matler. Do you know how much credits against monthly Detroit Water Department stormwater charges you expect to receive? And is there any additional goals you have in that area, in the area? So I think that's a lot of, you talked about stormwater capture and rain gardens and some of your landscape. Have you already had conversations with the water department in terms of what that will look like with reductions in the stormwater fee?
We haven't recently. And Robert, this is something I can also follow up with you on later, as we do have additional goals, and I'd rather be more exact than put off the top of my head. So it is something, again, we're really excited about and feel strongly about.
Okay. Are there any other questions for our presenters? We could, I think at this point, we could probably just have people raise their hands if you have additional questions, and feel free to put your video on if you'd like to.
Yeah, feel free to open your cameras. Michelle and Tori, thank you guys very much. It was really amazing. I'm so excited to share it with the other 2030 districts. I'm so proud of what you guys are doing in Detroit. This is being recorded, so if anybody missed part of it or wants to share it, it will be available on our YouTube channel, which goes for any of our meetings. If you miss something or you want to watch something, we do have a Detroit 2030 District YouTube channel, which houses all of our meetings that are open to the public. So feel free to turn on your camera. We know a lot of people here today. We'd love to wave hello from wherever you're at. Anybody else want to say hi?
Yeah, and I have another question actually for Michelle and Tori. And apologies if I somehow missed this, but I know, Michelle, you shared on your presentation screen sort of a pyramid of how you're prioritizing energy conservation and then renewable energy. Is Michigan Central, like, are there any plans for solar or geothermal at this time with the project?
Not on site. We're going to have the electricity basically covered through power purchase. So
Okay.
that's how we're covering, like, Michigan Central, Michigan Assembly Plant, right? That's how we're able to cover multiple facilities in Michigan through purchasing it from DTE.
Okay.
And I would also add, Michelle, Not, we are thinking about solar, but again, more related to that idea of being a platform upon which startups or others could test or innovate on. And so thinking about how could a small solar field be a type of asset that those folks could use, but not necessarily relying on solar on site to really offset considerable energy usage. And then in terms of geothermal, not really at this point, though I should have mentioned we are in the plans of developing a fourth building, which is going to be to the west of the train station. And we've often thought about this as really that, you know, big opportunity to, as a new build, to really integrate some pretty robust sustainability design interventions from the ground up there.
Very cool.
Are there any other questions? Again, feel free to raise your hand or take yourself off mute.
Yeah, hi, Tori. This is Bob Maller. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up with you because I'm sure that someone in your organization is aware, but I wanted to make you aware too that Detroit Water Department has this green infrastructure program where if you were able to retain 100% of your water on site, you could get up to an 80% credit against your stormwater bill, which is going to be substantial because it's all based on water going back to the grid. So the more you keep on site, the more you can save. And I'm happy to follow up with you if you'd like more information about it or think that it might be of interest.
Thanks, Bob.
So thank you guys so much for presenting today. And I just wanted to introduce some of our board members that are on the call today. Our founder, Peggy Matta. Say hi, Peggy. Dan Newman, who is a new board member. Al Vasquez. Hi, Al. Brandy is on our call today. She's our social media manager. We have some building owners here today. So excited to have you. Hi, Barbara from the DIA and Isabel. We're so happy to see you, and Jay and Scott from DTE. So I think we're just kind of wrapping things up. Once again, I'm going to stop recording at this point. And like I said, we will send this out to you.